Can be fiction more accurate than fact? The French army is about to create a red team of sci-fi writers to imagine possible future threats. But many say it is absurd and the soldiers will be better. The truth is often stranger than fiction, as the saying goes. But is fiction accurate than fact? It was American writer Mark Twain who pointed out that fiction has to stick to the possibilities, whereas truth doesn't. The defense minister of France, which has, by the way, the most significant armed forces in the European Union, seems to have taken the message to heart, with the announcement that a team of fiction writers has been engaged to help military strategists anticipate future threats to national security. A report by France's recently established Defense Innovation Agency says 4 of 5 visionaries called the Red Team are being hired to imagine scenarios of disruption that might not occur to military planners. The possible sequences of events they come up with remain top secret, as they could be crucial in fight against malicious elements, says the report. France Foundation for Strategic Research confirms the role of the Red Team will be to think more creatively than the military and challenge any certainties that we may have an hypothesis about the future outside the usual bureaucratic procedures. Obviously, it will try to anticipate how terrorism groups or hostile states might use advanced technology against France. A similar exercise happened in the US, where science fiction writers took part in the defense brainstorming sessions after the 9/11 attacks. What do we know? That there is something called the Defense Innovation Agency in France, and it has asked some fiction writers to think about future technologies. We also know that after the 2011 attacks on New York, the US government felt it had been guilty of the lack of imagination in preparing for the worst. Now, what we don't know, whether the sci-fi writers will be involved in the development of any new hardware. It sounds more likely that their ideas will merely be discussed and presented to a group of military experts for a decision on any follow-up. Now, take into consideration this, the announcement came as Frank Zapata, former jet ski champions, demonstrated a futuristic jet-propelled flyboard soaring into the air on the hoverboard-like device above crowds and amazed spectators in front of the Eiffel Tower at France's Bastille Day military parade. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, tweeted a video of the stunt with the message, "Proud of our army, modern and innovate." Fiction author William Gibson, who coined the term cyberspace, says that writers have no special gift of seeing into the future. "We are almost always wrong," he told to Weird magazine. Says, "I think the least important thing about science fiction for me it is to the predict capacity. It is recorded for being accurately predicted is really, really poor. If you look at the whole history of science fiction, what people say is going to happen, what writers say is going to happen, and actually happening is terrible," he added. This story shows that the French government has more money than sense, say skeptics. The majority of military advances came out of science labs working to instructions for people who conduct operations in the field. There is no substitute for experience. A writer sitting all the time in a cafe looking for inspiration knows nothing about it. But hang on a minute, says Believers. Julius Verne got details of the moon landing early right, 104 years early, 7 years before the first flip-flop automobile There was one on Star Trek. Aldous Huxley predicted antidepressant pills 20 years before they were eventually created. There are thousands of more examples of fiction being a brilliant guide to the future.